Okay, so our last little bit here, we now allow the timer to turn off when we're at zero. We've set up this new variable called freeze, and we set its value to 1 to indicate that the clock has been turned off. And once we know the clock has been turned off, then we're going to stop this mechanism. So the way we do that, that's called a conditional. The condition is if the clock is on, then we do this um, moving and keeping changing the score. Otherwise, we don't do anything. Okay, well, we don't need to do anything. The game is over. So let's come back to our if then, and I'm not even sure if we need an else. I have to think about that. But let's go with an if then, and the if is going to be um, if the freeze is equal to 0. So let's get this little equal one out here. If the freeze is equal to 0, and if the freeze is equal to 0, what does that mean? I want you to stop and think about that for a minute. What does it mean when the freeze is 0? Remember, it's either 0 or we change it to 1. Think about it. If the freeze is equal to 0, that means that the clock is still moving. So if the freeze is equal to 0, we want to do this, set the global score to global score plus 1. And then we also want to set the score label to reflect the score. And that's, remember, we had done that over here. And I'm just going to duplicate that, bring it down. So when there's a collision, we're going to ask the question, is the clock timer still on, or have I stopped it? Is it true, or have I turned it to false? If it's still true, if it's still on, if freeze is equal to 0, then we're going to change the score by 1 and display that new score. And we're still going to move the mushroom. I mean, I don't mind doing that. You could put that in here too, but it's fine. We can always move the mushroom. Just don't, this says that the mushroom will move even if the clock is at 0, but you won't get any points. And that's kind of the point here. The last thing we're going to need to do is we have to, remember how we did on the initialize and the reset? We set the score to 0, the timer to 10. Now what we need to do is set freeze to 0. And that's our initial. And then we're going to duplicate because we're going to put it here. And we're going to put it here. Now notice when we set the score to 0, we have to set the label to show that it's 0. We set the timer to 10. We set the label to show that it's 10. There is no label for freeze. It's something that operates just in memory, just in the background. It's still a red folder with a number in it. It's just something that's kept there behind the scenes. But anytime we open the app, anytime we hit the reset button, that goes to 0, which allows all of this to happen, right? The timer does all this because, I'm sorry, I'm in the wrong place. If the global freeze is 0, it allows you to score points. And it will keep doing that until the timer gets down to 0 and we change the freeze to 1.